All right, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Fanon, and in this video, we are going to be talking about statements made about Jermell Charlo by ESPN and one of the people responsible for doing and having an actual vote on the ESPN pound for pound list. And when I'm saying it is disrespectful to Jermell Charlo, I think that is a bit of an understatement. It is disrespectful to all of boxing. What a person that actually works for ESPN organizes, I do believe, organizes their boxing page on ESPN's social media presence, had to say about why Jermell Charlo is not on a pound for pound list, but guys like Terence Crawford are. Let's talk about that in this video. All right, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Fanon, and in this video, we're going to be in the 154-pound fantasy land as it connects to the pound for pound list. Now, people familiar with this channel should know that I'm not the biggest fan of pound for pound lists. I really don't have too much of a problem with whoever you think is on your pound for pound list. It is what it is. It's a marketing thing. It's not really, it's totally subjective. It is what it is. Not saying that it does not have value for fighters, because it does. In lieu of people actually being able to sell tickets and have people want to see them, everybody needs, all the good press that they can get. And ESPN, who has one of the more well-known pound for pound lists, that has cachet in the sports world, because you get to see your name listed with who ESPN, the quote unquote world leader in sport, lists as the best fighters in the world. Now, on Sean Porter's podcast, the Porter Way podcast, there was I'll call him a reporter, but one of the people who actually get a vote, of the people who you don't know who they are, but you see a list of people that get to cast their votes on the ESPN pound for pound list, makes a statement on the Porter Way podcast. And this is no disrespect to the guy. Hey man, I'm sure you worked hard. I'm sure he worked hard on his job to get where he is. I'm sure he's a hardworking guy, man. Probably likes boxing, but he's clearly somebody, man, that like a lot of these media guys are people that are media guys first and boxing fans second. And by that, I mean, they may have casually watched boxing, but their profession is in journalism, or their profession is in some social media, whatever the new education is in social media, in the manipulation of social media, or the use, I shouldn't say manipulation, that's kind of loaded, the use of social media for different purposes, right? But they're really not into the sport of boxing, like a childhood love for the sport of boxing, like a lot of us real and true boxing nerds have and have always had for like our entire lives. I'm sure if you're listening to this channel, you know what I mean. So they wind up saying things and knowing facts about what's going on recently, but really don't have a lot of perspective on the history of boxing, or, and they're really led a lot of times, I think, maybe by their colleagues. But whatever is in this guy's head, he said something that he's not the first person to use this line, but it is absolutely ridiculous. When talking to Sean Porter about why Jermell Charlo is not on the pound for pound list, he says that Jermell Charlo has been in fights, he's lost a fight, and he's struggled in fights. He lost a fight and he struggled in fights, where there are people on the pound for pound list that have never struggled. Now, anybody that hears this, in my opinion, alarm bells should start going off. And the reason that these alarm bells should start going off is because that's not applicable anywhere else in life, where the best in that particular field have never dealt with adversity in their field. If you are in a boxing match and if you are a professional boxer and you have never dealt with adversity, you've never struggled against an opponent, that's because you have not fought very good opponents. And I don't care who you're talking about, because nowhere in the history of boxing can you find somebody that is an all-time great that hasn't struggled with somebody. And they don't have to struggle with somebody that is a quote-unquote pound-for-pound level fighter. First of all, there's only 10 fighters in all of boxing that will be on anybody's pound-for-pound list if it's 1 to 10. And more than likely, you're only going to have 1 or 2 people, maybe you'll have 2 people in the same weight class that will be in that list. So in order to say that somebody has to be on a pound for pound list if they struggle with somebody that's not a pound for pound fighter, you tell me who has fought guys and beaten guys that are on that pound for pound list. Alexander Usyk has never beaten anybody that was on that should have been on a pound for pound list. Anthony Joshua, I guess you could say Anthony Joshua, but I think Anthony Joshua was off that list when he got knocked out by Andy Ruiz. But the idea that Jermell Charlo cannot be on a list because he struggled against guys that he turned around and knocked out, man, that's called being in a very, very tough division where there's a lot of parity in that division. So this guy goes on and continues on Twitter. Man, it was like, I put out a tweet like, dude, you got to stop while you're ahead. Goes out there on Twitter and says that the 154 pound is a flyover division. And there's not, it's the worst, and literally called 154 one of the worst divisions in boxing after cruiserweight. The combination of those two things don't tell you that you should look at ESPN's pound for pound list, ball it up and throw it out, nothing will. 154 pounds is and has been a stacked division for years now. Years. All the way back to the beginning of Canelo Alvarez's career, that division has been stacked, and it has never been a flyover. It has always been when there's good 147 pounders, those 147 pounders start fighting at 154. So you wind up getting on a very, very consistent basis the best fighters, some of the best fighters in boxing in that division. And I'm talking the entire time I have been watching boxing, from the time of Terry Norris and Meldrick Taylor to Oscar De La Hoya, Pernell Whitaker. I mean, my goodness gracious, to what we have had over the last several years with guys like Erislandy Lara and Jarrett Hurd and Brian Castano, Jermell Charlo. You've got guys, freaks of nature, like Sebastian Fundora in that weight class. You've got, it goes on and on and on. You've got guys like Tim Tszyu, who, even though, I think he's going to lose to Jermell Charlo, is still a very, very dangerous fighter in Tim Tszyu. Like, how in the world? See, this is what I've been saying this, a lot of people do this. You start with the answer and then you go back and you justify it. There is no reason in the world to have Terence Crawford on the pound for pound list and not have Jermell Charlo there. Jermell Charlo has fought better competition, beaten better competition than Terence Crawford has. At the very least, it's on par. And if you say Terence Crawford a little bit more, okay, maybe. But talking about flyover weight divisions, man, what do you think everything is between the weight class of 105 and 118? That's like 5 straight flyover divisions right there. You literally only got 2 pounds between weight divisions, and guys jump up and wind up, don't even get their full strength until they get out of those weight classes, because they either start in that weight class dang near prepubescent, or they some other people juice or whatever, but there's not even any competition in those weight classes. If you look at BoxRec, and I mean look at BoxRec like this, go to those individual weight classes, 108, 105, 108, 112, 115, and 115 and 118. And go, you have that tab as page 1, page 2, page 3, page 4, page 5. I want you to go to like page 5 and start seeing how many people you see with records of 0-1, 0-1, 0-1, 0-1, 0-1. Because there's literally not that many people in that weight class to begin with. But yet you give credit to guys like Monster Inoue who fought in these weight classes, which are pretty much just Japanese domestic level weight classes, because how many human beings on the planet really as a grown man can weigh 115 pounds on a scale? But yet you act as if that's the same thing as becoming undisputed at 154 pounds when you literally have little 160 pounders and big 147 pounders there in the absolutely right in the middle of what is considered to be the pound for pound weight classes because of the styles of fights that are made in those weight classes. Man, ESPN just be on something, man. I'm seriously, that somebody need to call that man's boss. These dudes, it's clear they don't care too much about boxing with the stuff with that stuff they just put out. But anyway, that's my take on the matter. You let me know what you think in the comment section. And with that, I'm out. Peace.